to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Danvers Public Schools is a dynamic community of independent learners dedicated to respect, responsibility, creativity, and the pursuit of academic and personal excellence. This meeting is being broadcast by Danvers Community Access Television. Is there anyone in the audience recording the proceedings? Seeing none, thank you. Items of interest to the superintendent, school committee, and community. What do we got?
I don't know if anybody wants to give any accommodations from the school committee, but
Hey, Josh.
No, I just wanted to just congratulate everybody on a job. Well, first of all, congratulations to all the graduates on Saturday. But the whole, I don't know what you call it, from start to finish, it was great. And a special shout out, I see Mr. DeMaro over there. Your speech was outstanding. I think everybody just really loved it, and the parallel between the kids and the dog, and it was really well done. But overall, just congratulations to all the graduates, and just nice job all around. So happy to be there.
Yeah, I would like to also say that graduation was unbelievable this year. The rain held off. It wasn't too hot like last year. Everything was ordered perfectly, I believe. I'd also like to send out a congratulations to any of the sports teams that made the state tournament. I hear they all advanced at least one round, if I'm not mistaken. The tennis team had a great match against Fenwick the other day. And I'd also like to thank the 5 elementary schools for allowing me to head over last week to read to second graders and some kindergartners. It was a really good time, an opportunity to see all 5 schools in action and to see a lot of kids. Hopefully I made them smile that day, but it was a lot of fun. I appreciate that.
I would also like to take notice of graduation on Saturday. What a exciting and fun time it was for me, just to be able to be up there to give out some of the diplomas and seeing the happiness on the graduates' faces. Kudos to the staff for having that facility looking sharp, and thank you to whoever is in control of the weather for keeping it from raining on us. We also, Superintendent Bauer and I headed over to the pride raising, the flag raising at Town Hall at 1 o'clock. Again, another excellent event, well attended. David Mills, Judge Mills, was honored and was given there was a piece of art commission for him personally, and it was outstanding. Just another a great event, and just bringing people together and celebrating accomplishment in Danvers. So it was a great day all around. Is there anyone from the community that would like to share anything with us?
Now can you hear me? Great. My name is Julie DeFilippo, and I'm the chair of the Danvers CPAC. It's great to see everyone again. And our secretary, Marissa Costello, is also here to join me tonight. We are excited about all the work we have going with various entities in the community in our first few months as taking over as a new board. Coming up this week, we are co-hosting an event with the Department of Student Services on co-regulation and certain types of communications that tend to be non-compliance based, which is talked about around a profile of autism called pathological demand avoidance, which might be something that you've heard because it's a profile of atypical autism that's, becoming more and more researched, and we're seeing more and more. So we are really lucky to have one of the experts in declarative language. She wrote the handbook on declarative language at the Pierce Project in Beverly, and she's gonna be our speaker. And this training is open to caregivers, to early education through grade 12, teachers, staff, and we opened it up to CPACs in the region, and the comments and the response have been outpouring that a district is actually taking the lead on this really innovative approach that is really new for school systems. So we're excited. We can't wait for Thursday night. We also are partnering with the Peabody Institute Library around the Summer Reading Challenge. We are working to both help people know centrally where all the resources around accessing reading are, so that every child, K through 5, feels like they can do the reading challenge. They can access reading and learning in 65 languages, in open dyslexia programs, and all those things. They have a wealth of resources. So we're working with them. We will also be doing a sensory-friendly registration kickoff the day after the huge July 1st one, which tends to be very busy if you've ever been. So they recently did a survey and found that 12 to 2 is a really sort of quieter time at the library. So we're looking forward to inviting families who would like a quieter, more sensory-friendly time to come join us. And that leads into one of our new initiatives called Breaking Barriers. And this is an initiative where we're bringing the tent that maybe you've seen, sensory-friendly items to the Danvers community at various events around town, definitely throughout the summer. And so we are going to be at, probably all of the events that the Danvers Falcon Fest is hosting this summer, with earplugs and sensory items and all those things, to really make sure that children that want to have that experience and need that experience can. So we're excited about that. We also opened on Friday a special education survey of the community. CPAC did something similar last year, but we have more standardized questions this year. And we've already gotten a great response. So we'll definitely welcome everybody in the community, not just caregivers, not just students, who want to give feedback and help inform our plans for the year ahead, the initiatives that we take on as a new board. Finally, I would just love to welcome, we have a new board member. Her name is Meredith Testavari. She is a parent from Great Oak, and she's been involved in the Breaking Barriers initiative before it was through CPAC. And so she has come on in our new general board member capacity, which is an appointment by the chair, and serves for about a year. We're hoping it can be sort of a space to cultivate new board members to join some of the other positions. So we're really excited. We have a lot going, and we're also just thrilled. The Apple Institute will be kicking off its training at the end of June. Committee member Mr. Doherty will be joining us, the Department of Student Services, Danvers Rec, and members of the Accessibility Committee. Finally, we just wanted to congratulate everybody on the end of the school year, crossing the finish line. Congratulations on a graduation. Those are always the best time to work in a school, to see the people, who are crossing the stage. And unfortunately, empty seats are always a time for us to think about what we can do going forward to make sure we have less and less each year. And I just finally really want to thank, we've been here since April 1st, thank the Department of Student Services. Christina Ryan and her team have been excellent, have been so available and accessible to us, and of course Superintendent Bauer as well. We're just really looking forward to next year and being around the community, and building more support and community for the caregivers of kids with special needs here. So thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we will move on. Item 3, information from the superintendent.
Thank you, Chair. First up, we have our student representative report. We are in the process, Mr. DeMauro is working to add to our student representatives for next year, so we'll have somebody ready for August. So Olivia, it's all you.
Okay, so I have information from the elementary, middle, and high school today. So first, just touching upon the elementary schools, I wanted to add on to Mr. Doherty, who came into the elementary schools and shared his love of reading to the younger students. That was really awesome that you were able to come in and do that. And then kind of tying into the high school, the Falcon Eyes, which is a student a cappella group, they came and visited Great Oak School, and they shared them a little special concert. And a lot of the students that are in that group got to reunite with some of their former teachers as well, so it was a really great interaction. And then another thing within the elementary schools is the second graders have started to dive into their ancient Greek unit. So they have been conducting thoughtful discussions and big ideas as they explore what life was like long ago. Next, within the middle school, the 8th grade class just got back from their Washington, D.C. trip. My sister went. She had a really awesome time. They visited many historical sites and monuments. They got to go see outside the White House. They attended one of the baseball games there, and they also had a school dance while they were there. And it was a really good way, like my sister said, for them to bond with each other before their big move into the high school. And then moving over to the high school, the sophomore class recently went on a field trip to the Punto Urban Art Museum, which is in Salem. I went last year. It was really fun. We get to walk around the city and visit all the murals that are out and displayed. They saw how the murals can inspire, unite, and tell powerful stories and messages. And then the National Honor Society, National English Honor Society, and National World Language Honor Society, as well as the National Art Honor Society, had their induction ceremonies recently. And I just wanted to congratulate all the students that were inducted into that and how hard they worked academically to make it into those groups. Another thing was the Best Buddies group, which is a group within the high school for special needs students. We had an event about 2 weeks ago, for Richardson's, where we had ice cream with the students. It was a really fun way. I'm serving as the vice president for the Best Buddies chapter next year. So that was something that was really fun that we got to do. And we're also going to look forward to the next event, which is at the end of June, and we're going to the Salem Willows with the students. So that's something really fun. We're going to do the arcades. And then just adding on a big congratulations to the class of 2025 who graduated this past Saturday. It was a really fun and nice graduation. That's all I have. Thank you.
Chair, if I can add one more event. Thank you, Wally. That was a great report. There's been great reports all year. The middle school last week had Katie Greer come in and work with our 6th and 7th graders. She's a nationally known expert on social media, and Principal Colin Tony did a great job with his team to coordinate a very quick opportunity to bring her in. And she'll continue to do more work with our district next year. We'll probably have a parent forum as well as working with our 8th graders in the high school. But they pulled that off last week, and I had the great opportunity to attend one of the sessions, and she does great work, and that's very well needed, great message, particularly as the students head out for the summer. So just wanted to add that.
Before we go on, we were remiss in not congratulating the band and the vocal groups from the school, both for their performance at town meeting and for their performance at the Memorial Day celebration at the high school. No, here actually, right here on stage. And they were terrific, and Alex leads a great vocal program here, and the band was fantastic, so thank you to all of them. And sorry for the interruption.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next piece of the update. So this is the time of year where we recognize those who are moving on. And we have a group of retirees. Deep had a wonderful Breakfast of Champions a week ago where they celebrated our retirees as well as the champion of giving back to the schools. But we have a group right here that represent retirees going out at the end of the year. We have Miss Holly Murphy at Smith, an ESL teacher. Mr. Michael Powers at the high school, special education. Ms. Hoganson, world language teacher at the high school. Margaret Speck, Great Oak social worker. Linda Armstrong, Great Oak teacher. Loretta Frankie at the middle school. Deborah Orthman, middle school, special education. And Lisa Horn at Thorpe. So a great group of teachers. We wish them the very best and given so much of their lives and dedicated to helping all of our students. And, you know, it's kind of a bittersweet time when you see all the great work that has gone on over the years, but afford them the opportunity to retire and enjoy their retirement. And we have a few other teachers that we'll talk about at a later time that are retiring in October and December. So we have a few other paraprofessionals and others that are moving on, and it's just, we have a great staff. So just wanted to recognize our retirees.
I know we tried to tell Mary that she couldn't go. Do you think that would work with these people as well?
We certainly will try. And
Congratulations, have a long and healthy retirement. Thank you for your service to the school, to the students and families of Danvers. We greatly appreciate it.
And we have one more retiree that I know she doesn't want us to say anything, but Mary, our assistant superintendent, is retiring at the end of the year with over 23 years serving Danvers schools and 30 years plus in education, and in many, many roles, and had the good fortune of being able to say, give my thanks at the graduation. So I'm not really going to spend a whole lot of time because we have a lot of people here that just want to say good luck. And we have two very special people that we'd like to bring to the podium to present greetings from the state. So we have Representative Cairns and Senator Lovely.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good to see you. Friends, classmate, Mary. I'm Sally Kearns, for those who might not know me. I'm the state representative for Danvers and the rest of the 13th Essex District.
And I'm Joan Lovely, the state senator for the 2nd Essex District, which includes the charming town of Danvers.
So we are here, point of personal privilege,
Please.
Senator.
Yes.
I could not attend graduation. I was at a bridal shower, which was lovely, and the whole time I was looking outside. Yeah, how's the weather gonna do? So I was thrilled. You made it through for graduation, wonderful. Went up to Stop and Shop to do some shopping, and I saw Mike Powers, and I thought, now I have his citation right over there, and I thought, gee, does he know about this little recognition? So I decided to say nothing. And I said, how's it going, Mike? And there was someone else there. Oh, Mike, you're retiring. Yep, I'm retiring. And I said nothing. I just stayed mum. I said, oh, I bet you're looking forward to that, Mike, looking forward to having some time. And he said, yep, I am. And so, so now the cat is out of the bag. And so for Mike and his other retiring colleagues, we're very appreciative. And I think it's really nice to recognize. And to our assistant superintendent, who was acting superintendent at one time. So Mary, you have played many roles in the Danvers Public Schools. When my kids were in the schools, you started the community book read, and you have taken on other projects and made a priority. I feel like the through line of your leadership in the Danvers Public Schools has been what is best for our learners, all of our learners. And I think that that's what makes you so special. So before we read, I'll let the senator share her.
I just wanted to say it's been an honor to serve with you in your role, your various roles here in Danvers, and to say thank you. Thank you. You really put the students absolutely first. And we all got to work closely together during the pandemic and the challenges that went along with that. And you were there for every moment because it was all about the students. So thank you.
And with that, we will now present you, Mary. Come on up. We're going to read this to you. This is from the legislature. Be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts legislature offers sincerest congratulations to Mary Wormers in recognition of your 23 years of serving the students of the Danvers Public Schools as curriculum director, assistant superintendent, and acting superintendent with compassion, dedication, and an unwavering belief in the potential of every learner. and we've been very lucky to have you, and we're so happy for you, for your, hugs. For all your support. Oh, look at very nice. Oh, so I'm not good at this. I'm so humbled by all of you coming. I can't believe everyone that came when they've been working all day long, and there's no other need to be at the school committee meeting. So I really appreciate everyone for coming. I can't believe you did this for me, so thank you. By the time I actually retire, they're gonna kick me to the curb because they're like, how many more times do we have to say Mary's retiring? I just really, to Sally and Joan, thank you so much for all the support that you've given the Danvers Public Schools. I mean, really, you were always there for us whenever we needed you, and especially for me when I was the newbie on the block, and you really were there to help me out, really, with the emergency assistance program, too. We just really appreciate everything that you did for us, so. And I'm just gonna miss Danvers. Danvers is like my community. I don't live here, but I feel like it is my community. And I've got to know so many people, not just in the schools and the teachers and the kids, but I got to know everyone in the community. And it's a special place. And I feel like I have another town that I live in, and I got involved when my kids were there, but I'm really involved in Danvers. So it's what I'm gonna miss the most. I'm gonna really miss the people, like everyone I work with. That's the hard part. I think in September I'm gonna be chomping at the bit because there's no one to talk to and talk about work with. So, but I really thank you all so much for coming and recognizing me. So thanks.
What's that?
Yeah, that was a little faux pas. I caught myself.
All right. Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Joan. Thank you, admin team, for being here. It was a long day, but, and our admin assistants too, so. I'm not gonna say anything because right now we have another celebration coming up.
Can we all make speeches about you now, Mayor? No.
Okay, we'll move on to the next step. All right, if I could have Ms. Karen Robinson come on up. The senior internship program, as you know, how many years have we had the program in Danvers?
We've done the program since 2013.
2013.
With 1 year, a little bit off for COVID.
Very valuable program, and I don't want to take away Ms. Robinson's thunder here, but it's something we're very proud of, and it really connects, and it's actually making huge connections when we talk about the portrait of the graduate and skills for all students, and really is an opportunity for them to showcase what they can do. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. So I'm just here tonight. Thank you for having me. I'm just here tonight to share some information and some reflections on our Falcon internship program, which just actually wrapped up last Friday. So if you want to So I put in here the next year's dates, so thank you for giving me a reason to update our slides this soon. So basically, our program is committed to offering students real-world opportunities that prepare them for life after graduation from high school, whatever those next steps might be. So we try to provide a glimpse of the world that awaits seniors beyond the halls of Danvers High School, to secure like a meaningful path, or maybe even to discover that the path they thought they were going to take isn't really what they wanted before they invest a lot of time and a lot of money in their educations. And as Dr. Bauer said, to allow our students to embody our portrait of a graduate by applying critical thinking, problem solving, just real-world being in a real-world professional environment. So the hours, I just wanted to give you a little bit of information on what they do when they leave in April through the end of May. So generally they work about 25 hours a week with a supervisor. And depending on their AP schedules, they just take off about 5 hours per, AP class. And then as their own individual APs drop off, everybody at the end is working 25 hours a week. How do they get their internships? Well, we have a database. Right now, there's about 500 potential opportunities listed on our database where students have been placed or found in the past. They usually, they do the outreach. We certainly are there to help them, but we try to put the responsibility on them because, you know, they're seniors and they're heading out, but we are certainly there to help them. And as they discover and bring in new opportunities, our list continues to grow. So like I said, there's about 500 on there right now. I linked the internship database. You don't need to look at it now, but I'm happy to share these slides with you so you can take a closer look at it. So what they have to do, they have to do weekly check-ins. I check in with them every Wednesday, and they have to respond by Friday. I'll ask them questions like, how was your first week? Did you encounter any challenges, or was there anything exciting that you'd like to share, or, you know, are you having any problems, so that we can stay in touch that way. So it's just a Google form. They have to show up. Internships are treated like school days, so regular attendance is mandatory. And at the end, their supervisors give an evaluation. They assess them based on their professionalism, their punctuality, their attendance, their attitude, their willingness to learn, et cetera. So at the end of every internship, we do an internship fair. So that was held last Friday. And I just wanted to show you a few examples of one of the requirements, which is a trifold board where they give an overview of their internship. They share a little bit about their experience, and they also share their future plans. So you can see these students are wearing their college t-shirts, or they're wearing, other students wore scrubs. Some of them were dressed in DPW. Like, it was great, and they come in dressed, and so when our community comes in and our students come in, they can see, you know, these students who have one foot at Danvers High School and their other foot out the door, and they get to hear about all their experiences. So there's one page, and then the one slide, and the next slide has a couple more. So I just wanted to just share a couple of the examples of trifold boards. Okay, so the other requirement is they have to do a video where they reflect on, basically I asked them to do a day in the life. Tell me about the highlights, the challenges, the lessons you've learned, reflections, and advice for future interns. So if you could click on that and then start it at like 1 minute and 30 seconds. Here we go. Perfect. No? Here we go.
So we drove into Salem and used our parking passes to park in the garage. We then headed into the office and said hi to everyone before we logged on to our computers and finished up some projects from the day before. Here you can see us working on a slideshow that showed all of the representatives from the area so that employees knew who they were talking to during meetings. And then around 11, we headed out to our lunch break. We then finished up our individual work, and then we met with our coworker Katie, who is a recent graduate from Salem State. She showed us how to deal with grants and make sure that orders for supplies were staying on budget, and it was really cool to see and understand the process. Then we headed over to another coworker's office, and we did some inventory for her and made sure that all orders had been delivered. And then we headed into another office to do a resume building webinar that is meant for customers at Mass Hire, but we were offered to join the program as well. We took some notes to add to our own resumes. And then this is just an overview of the Career Center, which is right below down the stairs from the office. And this is where customers can come in and use their computers and their resources and talk to different employees that have different specialties to help them find jobs. Once we finished this, it was around 2 o'clock and we headed out.
Coming into this internship, we weren't really sure what to expect. But at the end of the day, we're so excited that we had this opportunity. We were able to look at the recruiting process on the job-seeking side rather than the applying side.
My plan for next year is to attend the University of South Carolina and study biology.
My plan for next year is to attend Wake Forest University and study statistics.
This internship has impacted my future plans because it has helped me be able to see the different things that go into healthcare grants.
This internship has prepared me for the future because I was able to see how to efficiently input data and organize grants.
My advice to future interns is to go into your internship with an open mind and make sure that you're always trying to make connections with all the people you meet.
Thank you so much for watching our video. We hope you enjoyed hearing about our internship at Mass Hire.
There we go. Okay, so the timeline, just to show you like how the year goes, because they don't just get an internship and go. And early in the year, we have them fill out an interest form, work on resumes, and search that database that I was telling you about. I highlighted the next one because this is a new event we're going to be piloting in the fall, an internship networking event. For seniors to meet potential mentors and perhaps secure their internships early. So we're going to tie it in with Credit for Life and invite the people who, I told you about the evaluation forms, overwhelmingly yes responses from the mentors and supervisors saying they would love to come to our networking event. And it's an opportunity for us to thank our community partners because we really couldn't do that without them. And then we hope that they get an internship by February. They go out in April, and then the fair, like I said, is at the end of May every year. So what we try to do is to be flexible. When we first started this program, we didn't allow students to have paid internships, but now we welcome paid and unpaid internships. Whatever the supervisor is offering, we check into everything, but we're okay with students getting paid for their time. Working with parents, we just try to, we're fine with that. There's a lot of people who want to take over a family business, that's fine. So they'll, just as long as the immediate supervisor isn't named mom or dad, that's really what we hope for. We try to avoid having students work their part-time jobs, but say they're working as a cashier at CVS, they want to go into pharmacy, you can go work in the pharmacy at CVS, that's fine. A lot of students have started their education or their certification programs. We had somebody go to the Peterson School. We let them get started there. Somebody's done a Nighthawks program before. One of our students started her own nail business this year and had 42 clients while she was on her internship. So it's just like, it's a great opportunity to get started on their future. I just try not to like say yes or no to anything, because I just think the important thing is to be flexible and so everybody's needs are met. Another thing is, can I do a capstone? Capstones are often good for students who are taking a lot of AP courses or have sports right after school if they're doing a spring sport, because they need to be close to home. And the way our rotating schedule works is that sometimes kids just can't do something for an hour a day here or 2 hours a day here. So this is just up here as an example of a capstone that one of our students did last year. And this is a representation of all the internships. And I thought it was lovely, so I just wanted to share it with all of you. So that's one capstone. Some of the challenges are, packed student schedules, like I said, taking AP classes, having a rotating schedule, and spring sports, those are all great things. So we wouldn't want to take that away, but at the same time, it's tough to land those high quality internships. So that's why we, try to make other opportunities available. Some other challenges at STEM opportunities are limited. They're competitive and harder to get because those are usually taken by college students or grad students. Transportation barriers, a lot of students lack reliable access to off-site internship locations. Remote work, fewer people are working in an office, so sometimes it's tough to do an internship with somebody working from home, but a lot of students did part of their internship virtually, which is another way to get prepared for the world. And loss of funding. So last year, we sent 71 students out on paid internships through STEM grants, youth work, and DESE grants, and those funding sources are no longer available. So it was really sad to not be able to hand out $1,700 checks to students at the internship fair, but it's just the reality of what we're facing today. So one of the places where we've had a lot of students do their internship is Anna Jake's Hospital. And these are two students who did their internship there. And one of them, Maddie, who has the Endicott sweatshirt on, she's gonna actually be working there this summer and going to Endicott, and just already started her career. So we have a nice little video, if you can click up there, about the Anna Jake's internship. You might wanna turn the volume down a tad when it starts.
My name's Sophie Papamichael, and I'm interning at Anna Jake's Hospital in Newburyport. I'm in a few different departments. I'm in the birth center, the ICU, ISF, which is kind of like an outpatient center, and basically I get to watch surgeries. I get to observe patient care. It's very interesting, and it's what I'm planning to get into when I'm older. So it's giving me kind of an idea of because I want to go into the medical field personally, and it's kind of giving me an idea of what specific department I could possibly go into.
I hope that they get a really realistic view of what working in healthcare is like prior to going into school and spending all that time and money and energy furthering their education. It really gives them a glimpse into what working as an adult is going to be like, as opposed to working in a part-time job as a student. You really get a flavor for what it's like to be working with different people of different ages and different priorities, while they get a glimpse of what they're hoping to specialize in.
I'm interning at Anna Jake's Hospital in Newburyport, and I'm shadowing nurses, doctors, basically anybody that works in a hospital. This internship allows me to see what life in a hospital would be like before I go to nursing school, kind of just get familiar with interacting with patients and talking to doctors.
I think the interns, I hope they get a good experience here of seeing healthcare. Over the past couple of years, healthcare has really changed. Having some new energy and new blood kind of in the organization is wonderful. When you're in high school, it's very difficult to decide what you want to do for the rest of your life. Pick something that you love, but also eliminate things that you may have seen a little bit differently.
I think that overall, they have learned a tremendous amount, and I cannot praise them or the school enough. They've been just fantastic for us here this year.
So I just wanted to share just like what I love most is just like seeing our students when they come back from their placements, just genuinely excited to talk about what they've done. You can just see a visible shift. They're just more mature, they're more grown up, they're just more ready to step out into the world. And for some students who don't always thrive in an academic setting, they really can shine in their internships, and I see that every year, and it's just a really good feeling, and I'm just proud of the work that we've done, and the program, I just think it makes a difference, and I just thank all of you for supporting it.
Thank you, Con. Any comments?
Yeah, I'd love to make a quick comment. So I love everything about this. I think this is great. I think a lot of this gives, not only they get great experience, but they learn, they mature a little bit. They see how you're supposed to behave in a work environment. I think it's outstanding. I first heard about it last year, and I was so impressed just hearing about it, but this is great detailed presentation. Can you give us talk a little bit more about what the interview process is like, and how do they get prepared to get into, or is there an interview process for them to get into these jobs?
So some students will have to have an interview.
Yep.
Some students know somebody who helps them get an internship, and they just walk in. But
Right.
just like a job interview, I know that I teach a college and career course, and we do interviews. We
Great.
do resume. We work on their resumes. They do that with guidance as well. So we try to make their experience at Danvers High as realistic as possible for the next step. So I think a lot of us are working on those skills, presentations, interview skills every day.
All super important.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
Chair. I love everything about this, and I'm big on promoting all the great things that, all the great things that Danvers high school students are doing, or Danvers school students are doing. I'm wondering if we can do more to promote this. You said there were 71 students last year who did internships. I'd love to see and promote the internships that they were doing, like what the outcomes were, because I see that as another recruiting tool. I mean, it's not just AP classes, it's experiences. And, not everything has to be professional. It could be like a trade or
Absolutely.
something.
Absolutely. It's actually 71 students were paid last year.
Oh,
All of almost, I'd say about 95% of our class goes out on an internship. So we started in 2013 with 27 kids, and now it's grown to the entire senior class, as long as they're academically eligible.
That's incredible. We have to find a way to capture that and promote that, because that's an absolute phenomenal. Thank you for the presentation. And the videos were like, I heard about it last year for the first time, but the video really brought it to life. Like, I have no doubt that, I can't remember her name, but that young lady's gonna be a doctor or something. I mean, she actually looked the part, spoke it, like you could almost place her. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's no negatives about this. It's only good stuff, and these kids can truly grow in the job, and not only do they grow in a particular job, but the ability to know, hey, I thought I wanted to be a nurse, but now I'm not so sure.
Mhm.
That is as valuable as picking up information and deciding that, yeah, it's a job you might love. Because to eliminate those things you might not want to do is just as important. So just the fact that they get a taste of what life could be like and what they think they want to do is just a wonderful opportunity. So I hope we expand the opportunities, and I know there's some challenges, but it seems like we're in a good place to keep moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm gonna mirror everything they said, that having students work for me in the summertime. I run the Danvers Rec summer programs with Jimmy Hinchin, and the work ethic is definitely different than it was a while back, and they're bringing different skills to the table. The only thing I see, and it's not a negative, is I know when applying for colleges, it's a little bit sooner than that last month of school when you're declaring what major it is. So I didn't know if, like, maybe possibly a taste of that, like the last 2 weeks of junior year or something like that, to, possibly give it so when they are applying for schools, they, throw it out there that.
It would be interesting to do a shadow day or
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
that.
like so, yeah, because I remember when I was applying for college just a couple of years ago, you had to declare what major you were applying for. So it was, what program you were going into. So that might have been helpful even then, because I changed majors maybe at orientation twice, but and that's the truth. But yeah, it's definitely a program that is putting these kids in the right direction. I appreciate it.
Thank you again. Two of my three went out on internship. In fact, Josh, my youngest, did have to interview for one of the places that he was accepted at. I said to you before, and I'll parrot what they said, this is a program that should be in some way, shape, or form expanded. You talked about flexibility. This is a changing world, so maybe digital internships or remote internships, but any way that this can expose our students to just what a professional workspace looks like, and those, to work on interpersonal skills and all those things is just fantastic. So thank you for amplifying this program.
Thanks so much.
Through the chair, one thing that I noted, I was able to get by, and I thought it was interesting, the variety of internships, the excitement on the students, and they were able to achieve in their own way and gain from this. But I thought it was interesting that you bring down students from all the grades to walk through, right?
Yeah, we use community block. We do an extended community block, and we have the juniors stay down the whole time because they'll be doing this next year, and we have the freshmen and sophomores come down for about 20 minutes and 20 minutes. But we like for the students to ask questions, and after I have a junior class, and I talk to them afterward about what was interesting to you. Do you see anything you might like to do next year? So it's really helpful to have, and it's like an in-school field trip.
It is, and to echo what Mr. Lopes said, I would love to see us put together a small video on this and get this to when we have our open house in the fall next year at the high school, but also get it down into the middle school as well. And we do need to promote this more because it's an outstanding program. So.
Thank you so much. And congratulations, Mary.
Yes, sir. We have Mr. Jim Sullivan, our Director of Technology and Integration and everything else, coming up. Hello, Mr. Sullivan.
Good evening, everybody. Nice to see you. Thank you for having me. Jim Sullivan, Director of Technology. Excited to join you as we get closer to the end of the school year, but also to tell you and share with you a new initiative that we've rolled out in Danvers Public Schools, which is actually our new emergency alert system that we've had for safety. So this has actually been essentially a year-long project. It's gone on a while. But the idea and the conversation actually started with our district safety committee, which consists of our school principals, some district administrators, the police chief, representatives from the fire department, DPW, the DTA, and the instructional assistants unions as well. And school committee actually is on there as well. So this was a conversation that started about, working to, continuously improve school safety. And so as part of that, we've actually worked and we've gone through a series of conversations and the implementation of this InformaCast emergency alert system. So essentially, just as you would think about an emergency alert system, the goal or the purpose of this system, in the event of some type of emergency, we have the ability with really just a couple clicks of a button, the authorized person can actually launch an alert to notify the school community where the issue is, as well as emergency services as well. So all within a couple clicks. Again, it's a mass notification system. I guess the simple and most complicated part is that this system is integrated into all of our other systems so that we can get the word out to everybody in a variety of ways. It allows us, to do audio alerts that will actually go over the intercoms in the schools. It will send different types of text notifications, which I'll show you in a minute, and visual alerts, so that the goal is really to make it really hard not to know that there's an alert going on, so that we can get the information out in many different ways to all of the staff and the stakeholders. And again, the system is designed so that certain people right now, in the buildings, whether it's the school administrators, district personnel, our threat assessment team, or the Danvers Police Department, are the ones who are able to make the decision and launch that alert in the event of an emergency. So how does it work? So when an alert is launched, it will send the same message, and I'll show you on the next slide, through a variety of different ways. It will send a message that will light up all of the school phones, whether it's a classroom phone or a desk phone, with a visual message that's saying that there's an alert and describing what that alert is. At the same time, there's an announcement that goes over the intercom to let people know, with anybody in ear's reach, what is going on or what to do. And it also sends a message to mobile devices for all of the staff in that building. So it'll send a text message and an email to their Danvers, their school email, a text message to their phone number, as well as if they have the alert, the app for the alert system, it will actually send a push notification. So one of the benefits of having the app as well is if you're similar to like how your phone responds in the event of like an Amber Alert or some type of emergency where it overrides any type of silence notification, in the event of an emergency alert, this app will actually do the same thing for staff, and it will override to make sure that you're aware that there's an alert that you're being notified about. And as part of that, we're looking to continue to upgrade and add features to the system as well. So the InformaCast app also has the ability to integrate with our Clear Touch boards, which is our digital interactive displays that we've been rolling out in all of our classrooms. So we're hoping that next year we're going to get to the ability that, as well as when an emergency is launched, that emergency will actually, it will take over the screen in the front of the classroom to let people know what the instructions are in the event of that emergency. Same thing with our digital signage that we have around our buildings as well. It's built with the same technology that we can push out that alert to. So the goal is to let people know as fast as possible, but it doesn't really matter where you are in the building, whether you're in your classroom, you're in a hallway, you're down the hall, that you have the ability to get that notification in the event of an emergency and take action as quickly as possible. That's the goal. This here, so this is, there's a lot going on this slide, but that's sort of the point. So in the event of an emergency being launched, or an alert being launched, excuse me, it does a series of things all simultaneously. So you can see on the left-hand side, the rectangle boxes, that's a copy of the email that's sent to all staff in the event of an emergency. It also gives you the ability to play the audio out of that email if you wanted to. In the middle, you can see there's one of our school desk phones or classroom phone, and that posts the alert that's right there on that phone. So if you're in an office or if you're in a classroom, you'll see that message as well. Above that is the text message, and you'll notice through all of these, like it's the same messaging. It's trying to be consistent as possible. And then on the right is actually the Informacast app pushing that notification. And again, you have the ability that you can actually play that audio if you want to, if you were having a hard time to read the message. And it goes out over the intercom as well. So these messages can also be two-way depending on what the emergency or what the scenario is designed to do. So in the event this is the test alert, we've been doing a test notification at each of our schools so that to give staff the ability to hear, listen, see what an alert looks like. But you also have the ability to respond to an alert as well. So in the case of this test alert, it's really just one option that you can respond back to say, I received the alert. But in the event of a different type of scenario or a different type of emergency, we could have different options so people could respond by saying, push 1 to say, I need help, or I've left, option 2, I've left the building. Depending on the emergency, there are different options that it can, that you can respond to. And excuse me, that's one of the things that we'll likely work on with the safety committee this year, is to try and refine some of those messages to make sure that we have a consistent approach and that we cover everything that we need to with these alerts. But that's our new system that, we've been running the tests. We've done the majority of the schools so far. We've gotten great feedback from the staff. We've got a lot of people who, have received the alert in a lot of different ways. And, we've set up some things as well to make sure that, as information changes, as new staff come in, or as, people change their phone numbers with the district, things like that, that this system will get updated automatically so that we make sure that we have the latest information. But it's been a big project, and grateful, especially to the safety committee, and as well as the principals who have helped us with launching this, and also the technology team. Mark from the technology team is standing behind me and probably doesn't want me to recognize him, but he's put a lot of time into this as well. So I'm grateful for everybody who's done a lot of work with this. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have.
Yep. This is definitely something that in today's world we need. The one question I will have, just seeing the school phones and whatnot in here, just proximities. Say, I'll go back a year and a half or so, the event that happened over at St. John's Prep, we had to close down Smith School. Something happens near Highlands and we have to close down Great Oak because they're closed. Thorpe in the high school, Thorpe in the middle school. Do these alerts cross schools, or are they school specific?
So it depends, I guess. So depending on who's launching the alert, like principals have access specifically to their schools, district administrators and the police department have access to all the schools. But depending on, what the recommendation is from, the police department or whomever else, we can either launch for, multiple schools. We could choose a couple and launch it, or we could send a school, a district-wide, notification. It would be sort of a judgment based on what the scenario is.
Thank you.
But it does give us that flexibility, yes.
I can see now that we're going public with this, one of the issues that may come up is parents saying, why can't we be part of this system if something happens at our kids' school? And I'm guessing the answer is, oops, sorry. Okay.
That was the test alert. I wanted to make sure that we really got it out there.
I'm guessing the answer is, and it would make sense to me, if you have an emergent situation and you're immediately sending out an alert, the idea is to get first responders there as quickly as possible, alert the staff internally as to what may be happening. And if you had parents who immediately see this rushing to a school, which is something theoretically could happen, that could actually interfere with the process of getting first responders there. So I am sure that's probably the reason why we are not going to include parents as a very, like at the first alert. But are you prepared to talk with parents and explain this? We may need to explain this at PAC meetings and what, just a thought.
Yeah, and that's a great point, and that's actually something we've discussed at the safety committee as well. Because the goal of this system, as you're right, as you described it, is to, those who are in, potentially in harm's way or, within the emergency situation, we want to get the word to them as quickly as we can, and that's what we're doing here with this system, is launching that notification. But at the same time, it doesn't make sense, or there's probably additional information that needs to go to the parents as well. And so one of the things we're talking about is part of our phase 2 with the safety committee is what does that look like, and whether that's a secondary message with more information that comes from here, because you make a very good point. If there is an emergency, God forbid, we don't want parents or anybody else rushing into an emergency, which could be dangerous. So we want to make sure that the parents have all of the information so that they can make the sound decisions and determination and know what to expect.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Through the chair? No, that's a good point too, because the first immediate piece is taking care of that site specifically. That is the priority, and we already have it set up where, and Ms. Sullivan is correct, making sure that the additional information that gets out is accurate 100%. At that point, once we're doing this, we're just trying to take care of that immediate piece, and certainly we'll get out information as soon as we can. We are talking in phase 2, which can then expand this out. This is such a massive piece of communication. The one thing that we have to be very careful, and that's why we're testing in every school, is to make sure that it reaches the right people at the right time. Because ultimately, this is when a major issue is happening, and we don't want to have that opposite effect of a false alarm or something of that nature.
Jim, you said you received some feedback from staff. What are some of the negative things that you've heard about the system?
Honestly, not much. Any of the feedback that we've received has been more like one-off issues, where it's, we've got a message where, I got the email, but I didn't receive the text message, or, the speaker in my room, was already broken, which is great, because now we know we need to make sure we fix that. But it's been small pieces of information like that really have been the issue. No major concerns that I'm aware of.
And any feedback from students?
No, not yet. So the tests that we've been doing at this point have been after school, so it's been after students have left. So we're just, as part of our first round of tests, we've been doing it just with staff in the building, or mostly just staff in the building. But that's a good point too. So we, with Fun Club in the building, things like that, we've been letting them know. And we usually make an announcement before we run the test, just to say this is what's about to happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Shannon, if I may. So Jim, thanks for this. This is great. The one question that I have is, we've all been around in the schools. We know that the principals are not chained to their desks, right? They're walking around. They're addressing things. Are they the only people that are able to do this? I know, if time is of the essence or something, if there's an emergency, what's in place to second in command?
The alert can be launched, so it can be launched at the school level by the principal, but the principal can also do it from their mobile device. Okay. So there is an app actually that's built in. So for staff, it just shows what the alert is, but there's a second level for administrators where they can actually pull it right up from their phone and launch that alert from wherever they are.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and so what Dr. Bauer is showing is it's actually, there's a color code, and it's as simple as really pushing a button. The way the launch of the notification works, you choose the scenario, which is the type of alert, and then you choose the school that you're at, and then you hit launch. And then within that, with actually, so far as we've been testing it, in less than 30 seconds, all modes of communication are launched and completed. From that scenario.
And you bring up a good point, Mr. Kapnis. The fact of the matter is, it's limited in terms of who can actually activate, but there's a number of other ways that anybody in the building can trigger any of the emergency responses with the intercom or other means of communication. So that's something we're working actually on at our retreat in June. We're going to work on that just to make sure that we're all on the same page with that.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate the time and appreciate the support. Take care.
Okay, next up, we'll have our student services team, we just want to give a year-end update. There's a lot of things to update, but we'll just start with some of the basic stuff. And we have Ms. Ryan here, and I know her team is here supporting her tonight, so.
Yes. Thanks. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us tonight. We just wanted to highlight two key things that we have really spent a lot of this year working on. One of the pieces we heard from the community, as well as many of our staff members, was really aligning our programs pre-K through 22. And so really that is the culmination of our work this year, so we have completed that. So what we will be publishing soon on our website is what we consider our specialized program guide, so that any parent or community member would be able to see all the programs that we offer within the district and what the new names might be. So another piece that we heard from staff and parents was that the names were very confusing. And so we have now rebranded our programs to make sure that we have names that align with our vision to make sure that all of our students are successful. So as we are hiring new staff members, a key piece of this is saying to our new staff, here are all the resources at your disposal. So we have a staff guide as well as a program description guide, which really includes all of the internal processes. We've also updated our job description, so as we're hiring people who are going to be working in these programs, it's very clear this is what the program is designed to do, here are your job responsibilities, and this is how you will be evaluated. Any questions on that? I want to thank all of our student services staff members because this was a lot of work for everybody's part this year. So we have had 3 audits complete, and our staff has been very receptive and responsive in really being part of all the trainings and the behind-the-scenes legwork that really led to the culmination of these efforts.
Thank you for your work on this. Appreciate it.
The next piece that we have been addressing this year, and we talked about at an earlier meeting, was we have surveyed all of our special educators and related service members and have really identified that there is a gap in reading instruction that we are giving to our special education students. And so our goal is really to make sure that students can receive the correct methodology and delivery of instruction at each of their schools without having to potentially go to another building. And so we have audited our staff, and now we have really identified what programs we need to make sure that we are training our staff in, and we have tried to creatively utilize resources in order to do so. So this year we sent 2 staff members to a phonics training. We have also used an IEP grant to bring a consultant to the district this summer for our optional PD work to really help us map out if there is a suspected reading disability, how do we assess that? Then how do we match the appropriate methodology and delivery of instruction so that when we're meeting with parents and we're saying this is how we're going to be able to really remediate this issue, we want to make sure that we have staff members at the table who have the correct training to really be able to remediate that need. And so that is our work that we are going to be embarking on this June. We'll continue in August, and then we have a training set up for September to really make sure that we are starting the year strong.
Questions?
Any questions?
Chair, I can never stop saying how impressed I am with the continuous evolution of special education in the town. No disrespect to anyone who was here before, but seeing assessment, action, outcomes, how we measure, just the consistency. I can't say enough about how much I appreciate changing the names and making it clearer, because it was always kind of ambiguous of what's a learning center, what's intensive learning, and the I don't know if you copyrighted this or not, but the creative, embark, stride, soar, which are tied directly to the specific goals of each program, again, is fantastic, and I really like it. Again, thank you for making us look good, making the commitment with Dr. Bauer to do the funding and making sure that we're creating, a great learning environment for all the students and just executing. And so keep executing, keep up the updates, and I guess the rest will take care of itself. But I've seen a 3-year transformation that's incredible, and we can only get better. And so thank you to Dr. Bauer, the entire team, and your team for making this all a reality. It's something that I've just, again, we've paid special attention to it from day one, so it's just great to see it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I just want to thank my team for being here today, because this work wouldn't be possible if I didn't have them here alongside of us, really supporting the mission.
Thank you. And with that being said, it's a lot of collaboration, and certainly really enjoying the increased collaboration, not only with our stakeholders in the district, but also with our CPAC and families, and looking to increase that. So thank you very much, Christine and your team, for being here tonight. It's been a long, long day for you. We'll move on to the next phase, which, my slides mixed up. Transportation update, I'll provide that. David Pulsifer is our transportation coordinator, so he has been very, very busy. So I just wanted to give some quick updates, just some highlighted areas. So we have collaborated with the YMCA to utilize our transportation, our buses, to cover the YMCA after-school programs next year. So we're going to provide transportation from our schools to the YMCA. So this actually is helpful on both fronts. It helps the YMCA because, we are at a lower rate than an outside provider, and then, we'll receive the additional monies into our transportation program. So it works well, because then that also, I think, adds another layer of dependability. I'm not saying the other companies weren't, but now we have David who's in charge. I think that's going to go a long way. And also, we've been able to we heard a lot of feedback in terms of opportunities for the middle school, after school. And we did not have a bus this year, was not in the budget. Last year we used some of our COVID funding for that. So we heard that loud and clear. So being able to take some of the funds that will come back to us from the Y, we're applying that to create an after-school bus for Holton Richmond next year, which Principal Colantoni and his team, it's something that they really need here at the middle school. We're also, with the collaboration with the town and the warrant articles, last year and this year, we've in the warrant will allow us to purchase 2 new buses. One has already been purchased, and we've accepted the bid. The second one will go after July 1, because that funding is for next fiscal year. But the bottom line is this will allow us to reduce 1 bus up the contracted amount. So that will ultimately save us money, because we're going to add our bus into the fleet and take 1 away. So it's 1 less bus for us to subcontract with. And I'll be coming back to school committee in August with a formalized agreement for that. We think that's very exciting. Just that savings itself should offset the increased cost for the year for the in-district transportation. Also, the collaboration we have with the out-of-district transportation, that contract is finalized. And we went into the pilot last year. We brought this to the school committee. How can we coordinate transportation with our local districts to share, routes and transportation? So that is happening, and we're anticipating a 10% savings just in our out-of-district placement transportation for next year. So that's very exciting for us, and for other districts too. It's a great way to, the company they went with has plenty of transportation, so that's moving. The next thing is the summer in district, extended school year transportation, working on utilizing our school vans and other district resources to really bring down the cost of that. We'll save about $10,000 this summer just in increasing services, so that's really a good thing. And last but not least, we do have to hire a bus driver and a van driver. So David's been working really hard to find the competitive rates. We may need to go up a little bit, but he's been actively seeking hiring a bus driver as well as a van driver. And then he just wanted to provide a summer outlook for July, August, and September. So, starting in July, we have our transportation services for extended school year. And he's really looking hard at the routes for efficiency and maximizing seat capacity for 2 reasons. Number one, in years past, we've had a waiting list for buses, and we shouldn't have that, right? If we offer busing transportation, we should be able to provide that. So we can do that. But also, is there a way to combine buses, because you may have few riders on 2 buses? So he's really working hard with that. And then the other part too that's important is the maintenance schedule. Just ensuring that all the buses have a schedule. So it costs us money if a bus comes offline, and it just happened recently with an update. So then we have to rent the bus. So he's trying to coordinate that so it happens during our breaks and during vacation. in August, he wants to do another round of the survey just to ensure that, you know, whatever areas that can improve in service, we'll work on that. Working on compliance checks with our bus drivers and our contractors. And then in September, we'll have those 2 new buses added to the fleet. So I think that's very exciting. And then, you know, the contract will be fully in place and operational with collaborating the transportation with the consortium. And then the YMCA will launch that. So a lot of exciting things here. David's done a really nice job. And, you know, I know whenever there's a driver out or something, he may need to sub in. He's done that. But he's also been able to provide gaps whenever issues occur with when we subcontract out. If they have a sub driver, that can be challenging to know all the routes. And David's working really close and navigating and helping the principals. So I don't know if anybody has any questions about transportation, but I think we're moving in a good direction.
I would just say the progress made in the last several months is evident. And as far as that late bus for the middle school, anytime we have not been able to provide that, it becomes a real issue for parents and students staying after for extra help. So the fact that we can fund that through the YMCA program is just great. So, because you'd be surprised how much that has come up in the course of the year, or maybe not surprised. If we don't have it, it becomes a big issue for people. So, excellent, thank you.
I would just say, like, you know, the goal was to be break even with the new hire, but I'm just guesstimating the return's gonna be even greater, and it'd be great to just have like an end of year, like, hey, since we brought on a transportation coordinator, these are the savings that we've identified. I think that would be a great running score. And I mean, even the act of substituting the cost savings of trying to find an extra driver where he can jump on a bus, I mean, all of that is just phenomenal. But having that on hand when it comes to budget conversations and presenting to the town, you know, in addition to all the special education work, but here's all the transportation stuff. I mean, these are some of your flagship initiatives that are really starting to pay off, so I just want to make sure we capture them.
Okay, thank you. And I can tell you just off the vans, the transporting our athletic teams, we saved $15,000 this year, but that's not even accounting for the special education savings for our programs during the day and the field trips and such that we've used the vans for, just that little amount. So I will have that for sure, because I do believe that, you know, it was a calculated gamble to bring him on, but it's paid off and it's going to continue to pay off. And I think it helps that he's been in industry, which helps us a great deal. So the last thing I just want to bring up is collaboration. Again, there's many, many other collaborative pieces that we're connecting with within the community. But I just wanted to bring up just a few, because I think we need to continue increasing ways to collaborate. So if I've left somebody off, it's not by just focusing on a couple right now. So we've reached out to the senior center and actually had a senior breakfast on June 4th, where we had about 40 of our seniors come from the senior center and meet up with our students. Our seniors are already getting ready to move on to graduation, so we had a pocket of juniors and teachers with one of our leadership classes that actually served breakfast and gave some tours of the school. So we're going to work out more of a program that will sustain itself next year, where we meet every month, either at the senior center or here, but look for more ways we can develop that relationship. It's so important. And I attended the breakfast. It was outstanding, and the people were very, you know, seeing some former educators come back into the building was really neat. But I really like seeing our students interact and just gain from that experience. The YMCA, as we mentioned, just the after-school transportation, again, that helps both parties, but we're trying to make more, and they've been involved with trying to find opportunities to provide more extracurricular opportunities for our middle schoolers. And that's something we've met on, like, what can we do to provide more opportunities after school and such. The Y has been great. The prep, we've connected with them. They've offered to host our retreat, the administrative retreat, June 25th and 26th. We'll be on their campus, which is very generous. We do use their pool for our high school swimming teams. With the Y's pool, when that was offline, that's been a huge piece with no charge. They parked at Smith for graduation, which was great. So, you know, we're developing that relationship. Essex Tech, we're looking to grow that. And we've had communications about their After Dark program, where we can have students take our courses in the morning and attend the vocational training in the afternoon. And we're seeing if there's other ways we can be reciprocal coming in using our facilities as well. So that's ongoing. Principal DeMauro has been working on that, and we'll transfer that over to Principal Strauss when he takes the helm in July 1. The Rotary Club has just been outstanding, and they've contributed so many things. The most recent, though, is really helping fund the Riverside Playground. They had a nice sizable contribution to that, very generous. The Kiwanis Club is sponsoring so many different things for our schools. So it's very, very rewarding as well. And local businesses, there's many more that help us, but just that came to mind was Texas Roadhouse. They've been providing opportunities for our PACs to, for fundraisers. Cherry Street Creamery is sponsored and been a lot of co-sponsors. And there's many, many more. Again, I just wanted us to do a quick thumbnail sketch here because, the more that we can interact in the community, I think the better it is for all of our students, for our families. And as it's been said, there's a lot of people that want to help. And so it's our job to look for more opportunities to create more collaboration. So that's it for the superintendent's report.
Excellent, thank you. Number 4, unfinished business. Superintendent recommends policy ILD student submission to educational survey and research for a second reading.
Thank you, Chair. I know that is in your folder. The key components of this, oh my goodness, there's so many things. I'm not sure which one. It's in the folder, but the bottom line and it all came about when we were talking about the Youth Risk Behavior Survey and just ensuring that the opt-out portion is 100% tight, as well as notification of families in terms of what the survey purposes are and also allowing that opt-out opportunity. And I think this policy is again, this is one that's recommended by the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, and it's a strong policy, and I think it's something necessary because surveys are part of what we do in terms of gathering information to help inform our practice. But we also understand there are some surveys, and we want the parental rights that if they choose not to participate, that is their option. And we're going to put together a presentation in the fall. It's a presentation that will talk about all the surveys we do, why we do the surveys, what the opt-out looks out, and that'll probably be the second week in September.
I'd entertain
Yeah, you need a motion.
a motion to move the policy.
I motion that we move the second reading of the policy.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I have I think last time we talked about this, through you to the superintendent, I had some concerns about the language involving sort of limiting the opt-out to part of any program wholly or partially funded by the U.S. Department of Education. And I think we were going to consult our attorney on that. Did they have any feedback? Or?
They did, okay. And certainly, when you get into, many of the surveys that we have are not funded directly by the U.S. Department of Education. They're not. They're internal. For example, we have a social-emotional survey for our elementary help put together and inform our practice. The YRBS is not funded by the Department of Education as well. Right. So it doesn't fall under that.
No, but I guess what I'm saying is it your hope, Dan, that any survey that we give, whether it's funded by the Department of Education or not, would require prior written consent of a student's parent or guardian of the student?
Well, if it was directly funded or partially funded, then it is our opportunity that we have to, it's a different scenario than opting out.
Okay. So I get, well, agreed. But is it your hope that, or your desire that regardless of the basis of the survey, whether it's the Department of Education or one that we do ourselves, is it your hope or your desire that we get prior written consent of the student's parent, guardian, or the student? It is, okay. If that's the case, then I think that we should amend the policy to remove the words beginning as part of any program wholly or partially funded by the U.S. Department of Education. If you took those words out, then it would apply to any survey that we give. You follow what I want to be clear. Sure. So you want to read, as it would read, it would read, without the prior consent of the student's parent, guardian, or the student, if they are at least 18 years of age, no student shall be required to submit to any survey, analysis, or evaluation that reveals the information concerning that list. So that then makes it apply to any survey that we would give.
We just have to be very careful on this one because it's specifically with the parental rights and something that's specifically and wholly funded or partially by the U.S. Department of Education. Because there is a piece that, you know, that's why it was crafted that way in the beginning.
Okay, so, but, and I get it, and I get that it's sort of a standard policy, but the question is, you know, what do we want to do? If we want to make sure that we have prior written consent of a student, parent, you know, a student or the parent. If we want to make sure that we have prior written consent for all of our surveys, then the language limiting the operation, limiting the requirement rather, to only surveys wholly or partially funded by the U.S. Department of Education should be removed because it doesn't accomplish what you want to accomplish. I mean, if you want, we could do this. We could pass it as it is, and maybe at one of our next policy committee meetings, we can talk about it in more detail. I'd be cool with that.
Yep, I can do a deeper dive into this as well and consult with other superintendents that have brought this in.
Sure.
And certainly reach out to Alicia Mallon, who's our school committee representative for the association.
Yeah, it's just, this is a standard policy, and I get that, but maybe for Danvers, a slight deviation is really what we want. So I would vote for this, but with the proviso that it come back before the policy committee at some point. And do my colleagues understand what I'm saying? Yeah, okay.
I think it's a valid enough question, but I also have a question for the chair, if it's okay. I want to make an assumption that no matter what survey they do, the student privacy is going to be respected, meaning even if a parent requests access to these surveys, then they don't have a right to ask for their students or other students' responses. Yeah, I'm assuming that's in there, but I don't know if it's
Yes.
clear.
The key is that, you know, prior to any survey, we want them to see the survey and want to communicate that piece. But the actual data itself, no.
Okay. And another clarification, are these surveys also, the way that they're administered, guaranteeing the privacy of the students? Like, I know there's a concern about political, mental, psychological, but we all know where some of these survey questions can go, but what's the mechanism? Like, if it's being administrated online, is there a way to identify who took it, when, et cetera? Like, how do we protect the students' privacy and when they do these? It's something that's unclear. I don't know if it's paper and they're not signing it, or, again, if you're taking it on the computer, sometimes there's ways of identifying who takes what and when, so just don't know.
Right, so that piece goes into the privacy in terms of most of the surveys they're anonymous.
Right.
But being able to protect that so nobody else can get that information is the key. So usually, most of the surveys that we administer are internal anyway.
Okay.
So that piece is protected. I know it came up in the Superintendent Advisory Council meeting just to actually make that a clear statement about that, because certainly, data, just data in general, student data, is something that we always have to protect. And we'll put together a general statement on that anyway to start the year.
Okay, thank you.
When is the next policy subcommittee meeting? Not till next year, correct?
Next year.
So if we didn't act on this tonight, because we're looking to get more clarification, whether from our own attorney and from the work of the committee, can we just table this until we get that information?
Oh, I have no problem with that. Obviously, the whole design here is to really not only protect the district, but also to protect the students. We want to make sure we do this right. So if there's any questions, because we want to continue the trust that we have with the community and with our families. So I'd rather, if we take a step back to review further and bring more information, I have no problem with that at all.
Yeah, I'd rather feel that it's right before we adopt it. I know we have a motion that we need to vote on, but
The motion, number one, the motion to move it on.
okay.
Whoops. But I guess I want to emphasize, I think that the change I'm talking about actually gets us closer to where I think we really want to be.
No, I get, I know
Yeah.
you asked, and
I'm trying to
I
be
do get your
helpful.
change, I do understand it, but I actually have another concern that I need to mull over a little bit more as well, so I'd like to address that either in policy committee, subcommittee, or the next meeting where we take this up. That's where I'm at.
So I think you made the motion, Jim. You want to withdraw your motion?
I will withdraw my motion to accept the second reading.
Thank you. Number 5, new business. DHS cell policy presentation.
All right, the moment we've all been waiting for. We have Principal Damaro. We also, in the audience, have our incoming principal, Alan Strauss, who's been obviously working with Mr. Damaro, but there's been a lot of work that's been done fully on the cell phone policy, which, not to take Mr. Damaro's thunder, but is certainly something that has been talked about not only across the country, but within the state. So there's been a lot of work that's been done. So I will find the right button and I will turn back on the video. Come back on. Aha, magic worked. All right, floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much. So as Dr. Bauer just said, this is something that's been in the national conversation currently. Over, I think, 28 states have some type of statewide restriction or ban on cell phones. And so Massachusetts is also following suit. Internally, we've been talking about our cell phone policy all year, and the past several months have been engaging additional stakeholders in the district in this conversation. And just to start this off, to give additional context, we thought we'd share there is currently a bill in the state legislature, the Study Act, an act promoting safe technology use and distraction-free education for youth. This bill would seek to implement a bell-to-bell restriction on access to cell phones and personal electronic devices during school hours to improve the overall learning environment and school culture. It also proposes standards for social media companies and encourage safe and responsible use. So we aren't unsure how this will roll out with the timeline. Last I heard, I did not think it was scheduled for a hearing, but if this is something that is in play, we don't want to be caught without having these conversations in our school. So that's why we thought it was very important to at least start the conversations and start a deep review of our current policy to see what type of slight adjustments we could be made, because going from what we currently have to a bell-to-bell ban would be a very drastic pivot. So in preparation for this, the state has actually shared a lot of resources. They sent out a cell phone policy toolkit, which we have been using as a resource. It has been very helpful. It talks about how students Aged 13 to 17, 95% of students in that group report to using social media on a daily basis. 1/3 of that group say they use it, quote, almost constantly. And it also talks a lot about the significant mental health concerns that arise from the use of cell phones and social media. In addition to the different issues it can create in terms of cyberbullying, anxiety, and a whole other things that we see on a daily basis. So with that being said, if you go to the next slide, this is our current cell phone policy, just to give some context in terms of what we have in place now. Students are not permitted to use any electronic device during instructional time except with the consent of the teacher. Students are able to use phones during lunch or passing time. These items, if brought to school for use before or after the school day, must be stored out of sight at the teacher's request. If a student is found using an electronic device outside of the scope of the teacher's direction, the device will be confiscated by the teacher and returned to the student at the end of the period. Failure to hand over the device will result in administrative consequence. So we do currently have a policy in place that prohibits cell phone use during instructional time. However, it does have the caveat, except with the consent of the teacher. And what we've talked about a lot is how that adds a gray area and inconsistency and how cell phone policies are implemented from classroom to classroom. So some teachers have very robust policies where they have a shoe caddy where students check in their phones at the beginning of class. That's the expectation. They put it there, it remains there, and the students get it back at the other day, at the end of the class. Other teachers have a more lax policy where they might allow students to utilize it at different times for instructional purposes or at the end of the period. And I think this creates, like I said before, just inconsistency for students not to know exactly what to expect from one room to the next. So we sent out a family survey last week to get some data from families to start engaging them in the conversation. And in a little bit, I'll go over sort of a timeline of all the steps we've taken so far. And I thought it would just be important to share some data from that survey we've gotten so far. This was as of Friday when I made these slides. We have gotten more responses since then. But as of Friday, 76% of respondents believe that cell phone use in school is harmful or very harmful to creating a safe environment. 70% of respondents identify phones as a significant or very significant distraction for students in their classes. 59% of respondents support students being able to have cell phones in your child's school so that family members can contact them in the event of an emergency. So that's something that we need to balance, knowing that cell phones are a significant distraction, but with the families thinking that students should have access to them. And 70% of respondents support a policy that restrict student cell phone use during the school day. So in the state's toolkit, these are the 3 types of cell phone policies that they present to consider. The first is a bell-to-bell policy, like I said, where cell phones are securely stored upon entering the building at the start of the day. Students don't have access to them all day, and then they're able to retrieve them at the end of the day. Another type of policy is an off and away policy. This is when cell phones are expected to be powered off and stored out of sight during the whole day, including class time, passing periods, and lunch. So as long as they're off and out of the way, they can be in the student's backpack, locker, somewhere else, whatever is decided. Excuse me. And then lastly, we have limited use. This is when cell phones are expected to be powered off and stored out of sight during instructional periods, but may be used during designated times and in specific areas such as lunch or passing periods. And each of these different policies, of course, have pros and cons, logistically, instructionally, etc. So in considering these 3 policies, we're not looking to go directly to a bell-to-bell, like I said, based on what we have. But we do understand that it does create distraction from class to class, especially if it's not implemented consistently across the board. So our draft cell phone policy that we have in mind now, like I said, we're still getting feedback from multiple stakeholder groups. And part of this presentation is to start to share the conversation with all of you. Would be students are not permitted to use any electronic devices during instructional time. These items, if brought to school for use before or after the school day, must be stored in the classroom cell phone locker. At the start of each class, students will place the cell phones in the phone locker and will retrieve the cell phone at the end of each period. So this would fall under the limited use policy, which would be a step forward from what we currently have. It would ban the use of phones during the instructional time, so students are able to focus and collaborate on whatever the priorities are during that lesson. But the phone would still be with them in the classroom, and in this type of model, should there be an emergency, the teacher would be able to take the lockbox with them out to the agreed upon meeting place and redistribute phones to students. So if there's any concern around students having access to them, they wouldn't be stored down separately in the main office area, which would be the case in a bell-to-bell ban. So this is the timeline of events that we've had so far. Like I said, we've had internal conversations about this over the past several months. But I'd say in April, we had our first faculty meeting about it. Then on May 27th, we had presented an update to our teacher leaders about what we were thinking moving forward. That we looped in students into the conversation. So we visit our community in leadership class to do a focus group so they could give us some anecdotal feedback on how they were feeling as students, what were different pros and cons of our current policy and our proposed policy. We went to more classes to get more student feedback anecdotally. Then we had a follow-up discussion with our faculty at our last early release day. We split into different breakout groups to look at different policies, different parts of the policy, like a consequence timeline, the different models that I shared with you, et cetera. I sent out an email to parents on the 5th, and then on the 6th, which was Friday, we had an all-school assembly where I presented many of these slides to the students, and actually went rather well. The students were very polite and cooperative and respectful. And then they took a survey that mirrored the parent survey as well to give their feedback. And then tonight we have this presentation. And then we just we have a family and community policy review workshop next Tuesday night, where we will invite parents and families, in addition to survey, to come give in-person feedback as we continue to think about what we want the final draft to look like moving into the summer. So that is where things stand now.
Thank you, Peter. Any questions?
Just, go ahead, Josh, I'm sorry. No, please.
Okay, thanks for this, Mr. Morrow. It's definitely a challenge, right? I mean, we have to balance it because I do see a lot of the, it's clearly a distraction for kids, and I deal with adults all day, and they're giving it one of these too. I mean, they're looking and trying to do it, and you can tell that they're not engaged. So, I definitely see it as a distraction, but at the same time, I know families want to get in touch, or if there's an emergency, I get it. But my question is actually for the chair or Dr. Barr is this a school committee issue that we vote on, or is this a building by building policy?
So this would be included in through the chair. This would be included in the student handbook. So we vote on the handbook in August.
Got it, okay.
So the idea is to get this vetted out and then worked on and then put it in the handbook. So then we as a committee, you can vote on that, but it is in totality with the handbook.
So this would be for the handbook for the high school, but then the middle school could potentially have a similar policy?
Yes, each level actually there's a cell phone and electronics policy at each level.
Got it, okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Quick question, which is, I love the policy. My only question is there a concern among anybody about passing time, or whether there'll be a delay of students getting, I know there's only, 4 minutes between classes?
Yes.
So just curious if that came up as an issue.
It actually did. In the focus group that I ran last Wednesday, that did come up. Are we going to see an increase in students being tardy to class because they want to get some screen time in during passing time? So I think that may be a natural consequence that we see at the beginning, but I think if we sort of stay on top of things, because we already have a tardy policy in place that students are expected to meet. I think if we stay on top of that right at the beginning, hopefully students will become accustomed to it. We actually have a lot of staff that are in other communities that have similar policies to this right now, and they've given the feedback that, at the start there was a little like growing pains, but after a couple of weeks, their students didn't mention it at all.
Excellent, thanks. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
What would you say the response rate was up until this point? I know you're still getting responses.
From families?
Yeah.
I just looked and we have 129 responses.
Nice. The question, we got a response, 59% of the respondents support students being able to have their cell phones in child's school in the event of an emergency. Was it clear on that question that it was a school-wide emergency and not a personal emergency?
It was worded exactly as I had on there, so maybe it was a little vague.
So in case of personal emergency, I think that it's clear that it's a school-wide, district-wide issue. But if you had to locate a kid in the high school, how long a process would you say that would take you?
5 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Through the chair, if I may. So the high school's done a nice job, and looking forward to the family, community policy review, because there has to be buy-in on this, and knowing that if the law comes through and it is a bell to bell, the box that we're looking to purchase for each classroom would be able to be utilized for a bell to bell if necessary. Some schools use the pouch and things like that, but they could utilize that box. And I know there's been a lot of collaboration with other districts just as exemplars. I think the biggest piece is consistency, and the power off and full day, that goes back to when I started as assistant principal, and it was really tough to track. So, and I think the buy-in from the teachers is there. I was able to sit in on the feedback groups, and I thought those were very positive. And for people that have talked to me, this is, we need to take steps in the right direction here.
One more thing. How was the response from the students? They didn't push back too much?
No, they definitely pushed back a little bit. But I was surprised there wasn't. I thought I might get some booze at the assembly, but like I said, but there was a very respectful, healthy dialogue, especially in the focus groups when it was groups of like 15 to 20 students. I think they more in the loss of the autonomy that they have, but I think they understand based on all the evidence we present.
Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Monthly budget. I make a motion, we move Pam up in the agenda.
Once again, I appreciate that. But there's a lot of interesting content at tonight's meeting. I was happy to be here and to hear all of it, so it's great. Some of it I had known, some of it not so much, so it's wonderful. Thank you for having me here again tonight. I do have the last budget report for the year before things really close down, and we have to close the books on FY25. There's not a lot that has changed since last month. The major thing that has changed since last month is just another month's worth of invoicing that is reflected particularly in the 504 homeless transportation line. That projection has again gone up, but we anticipated that. That is a line that is subject to daily or weekly changes in the way things are being processed. But on the good news front for that line, we also have received the end of year report from last year. The audit was finally finished on it, and based on that, I'm expecting $149,000 or so in reimbursement from last year's expenses that will come to us in time, hopefully, to use to help offset that. It's last year and the year before we received about 80%. The target has always been 100% reimbursement on that expenditure from the end of year report, but 80% is what we've received the last 2 years, so that's what I'm using as a forecast, and that would be $149,000 that could be used to address that deficit. The other piece is that there is, as I've mentioned in previous months, an early process for that transportation reimbursement from the state. Our liaison is in the process of finalizing that submission, and right now that forecast is for another $200,000. So both of those things together give me some degree of comfort that we will be able to address that large deficit on that particular line. And that really represents the only real change. We did receive the $242,000 that I think we had known was coming last month, but it has actually arrived in the town hall coffers for the Emergency Assistance 104 a day fund, which is going to be also extremely important to helping us finish FY25 in a good place, or a relatively good place. The only thing that we haven't really heard about, to my knowledge, is the finalizing of the FY25 supplemental budget from the state with that additional circuit breaker reimbursement that we're hoping will come through to support the transportation side of that calculation. It seems to be, everything seems to be moving forward in a positive direction, but I'm just not sure when we're gonna get the final word that that has been turned into law, and then will result in a supplemental payment on that. But other than that,
Any questions?
any questions? It is, I will just say, it is my hope that perhaps next year we could consider moving to maybe less frequent, but more informative in different ways. A budget report from me that would maybe highlight more about trends over years, or not just be a discussion of basically just numbers. Could provide a little bit more of a high-level look at the challenges that we face and the successes that we're enjoying. Something to consider.
Let's have that conversation.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
All right. Next, consent, oh, no, I'm sorry, one more.
We can't skip this. Well, we could. Hopefully the director turns back.
Superintendent evaluation update.
So we're at the end of the cycle. So I'll be submitting evidence to support the goals of all the evaluation standards. I'll submit to you the evaluation paperwork. And then the bottom line is, as this is the last meeting of the school year, want to ensure that you have enough time to thoroughly analyze. And there's some data that I'd like to include in the evaluation that was pointed out in the last year's cycle. Some of the data that comes into our teaching and learning and student achievement that I think is important to review for the evaluation. And this all comes about a single report that school committee then will report out and vote on as a committee publicly. And our next meeting is in August. So I'll have the information is basically ready to go except a couple last pieces. And again, I'm not going to go through all the slides. We've talked about this, but I'll give you the report. You'll have an opportunity to review, and then you'll put together the report, the draft report that you'll bring the school committee, vote, publicly do that in August, and then we move forward. So just the piece that I'll provide, I try to keep it as simple with just the Google Doc that will have my goals, and then each one of the standards, I'll have the goals, and I link presentations, I'll link data sheets, and I'll put more of an explanation this year than I had last year. So it'll essentially look like this slide, and then that way you can go and all the Google Docs you'll have access to and Google presentations. I'm not going to go through each one of the goals, but I feel good that the student achievement has improved. Everything from the PD we've offered and the work that Mary and her department has done. We did a lot of stuff in terms of working with our principals and our evaluators with learning walks. We've instituted that. But the curriculum development there's a lot of it that's been going on. And the mid-year accomplishment showed some really good trending data, so I just don't have the end-of-year data to share with you because I think that really will bring this home. Number two is our practices. We've worked really hard at reviewing our handbook, which is updated finally since 2014 for employees. The PACs, we have a centralized that we're going to review and talk more about in our Wednesday meeting. And then our school handbooks, which we now let our attorneys vet out and once they come through us, and I bring them to the school committee. But we put together a whole list of charts and protocols that we've worked on improving our practices across our central cabinet. And the safety protocols at Formacast, we have the district threat assessment team, and we continue with the school safety committee meetings. I think that has made a really a good stride for safety and security. We brought into place the Superintendent Advisory Council, which I think is a huge piece, and will continue next year, getting some good feedback from the members to improve the meetings for next year. And I think we're in a good place with that. And then last is the strategic plan, which we've gone through. Everything is basically at a point ready to present and be approved. We still, one of the things we thought we would do is we took a few more feedback cycles. So not only with the administrative team reviewing, but we also have asked our principals to review with their site councils, and we're getting more feedback as we speak, so it's live. So I'd rather take the tact of making sure that I bring this back in a really good place. And we probably will open up a couple of community sessions as well for people to come and review and provide more feedback, because really this is a plan that's 5 years as opposed to 3. And we want it to be flexible to stand up to the test of time. I feel really good about our vision, our mission. I think those are very solid. The portrait of the graduate, I think we have some really good competencies. That will be a lot of our work moving forward. But I think the 4 pillars that we have going from all the way from student achievement to policy, I think are really solid, that we'll take those in each year, take pieces to develop our improvement plans for the district as well as for the schools. So we will do a lot of this work finalizing at our retreat in the end of this month as well. So I look forward in August having this wrapped up in a nice, neat package for you. But I feel confident to turn this over as a goal that we're in a good place with this. And I think it's something that we're all going to be very proud of. We are so far. A lot of work's gone into this. And I will also have my evidence based on each one of the standards with the links as well. So, but I didn't feel it would be fair to bring this and say, because I really wanted that last data piece to go in there that I think is important. And Mary's done a great job helping us with that student achievement data, and we have one last piece to go in there. So,
Thank you for that.
We just need another week. Once another week is over, all the assessments will be done, and we'll have time to, by the end of the month, we'll have the stuff ready, so that he'll be able to report.
Thanks for that update. Anyone have any questions, concerns? Seeing none. Consent agenda. Motion to approve the out-of-state field trip, Mount Washington, D.C. stipends, and personnel memo. Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Oh, I'm sorry, any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes?
I move to approve and release the minutes to the May 12, 2025 regular to approve the not release of the May 12, 2025 executive.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Please
Aye.
say opposed? Communications? Any communications? Legislation, any update?
I have no particular update other than what's going on in terms of money coming into the state. Trickle down. Grant.
Okay, thank you. Subcommittees, I know the curriculum assessment subcommittee is meeting later this month on the 23rd, I believe. Any other updates?
I'm just looking forward to the CPAC working with that Apple program, so that's starting at the end of this month as well.
Great. Thank you. Anything else? No.
Rights and Inclusion Committee for the work. Yeah, kudos to the Danvers Human Rights and Inclusion Committee for the work on the Pride celebration. And actually, it was Friday and Sunday. And I know the police department was heavily involved in the planning and making those days happen. So kudos to them also, and much appreciated for the town.
Thank you for that.
Yes, our Danvers Cares had their last meeting of the year, June 2nd. Great attendance. I think they do a nice job bringing in students and the co-facilitators, but they've really done a nice job in terms of their outreach to the community. And they're really looking right now to analyze the work they've done this year and continue on an upward trend next year as well. So very pleased with the work they're doing. In terms of North Shore Educational Collaborative, you know, the last board meeting was at the end of May, but I will tell you that they're in the middle of negotiations with their contract, so that's going well. And also the transportation piece is going very well with that. And the last but not least, in terms of the safety committee receiving good feedback in terms of next year's meetings and proceeding on with that.
Thank you. Anything else? If there isn't anything else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good night, Danvers.